Indiana Jones, Indiana It's a podcast about Indiana Jones. Every movie, 1 minute at a time. Indiana Jones Minute.
Welcome back to the Indiana Jones Minute. This is the podcast where normally, all things being equal, we discuss the Indiana Jones movies 1 minute at a time. My name is Tom Taylor.
My name is Pete Mummert.
I'm the intern, Jerry Porter.
And today, we are here for a very special bonus episode. We are joined by two guests who are supporting us over at Patreon at the Let's Go Talk to Us Together level. And that means they get to come on the show and talk about whatever they want. The airtime is theirs, and lucky for us and for you, the listener, they've come to us with a fun, solid topic that we're all going to enjoy. So I'm very happy to welcome Mark Campbell and Jason Allman. Welcome, guys.
Hey, thanks.
Well, thank you. Hello.
Yay! that isn't. We have a tier on Patreon. What is it? Let's all talk to us together because you have nothing better to do.
Yeah. These two guys clearly had nothing better to do, and so they signed up on Patreon, and here we are.
It's a long pandemic, and we're happy that you guys have us on, and happy to help out whoever you're going to throw this at, shall we say.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. Lately, during the pandemic, we've been donating, I think, all of our proceeds from Patreon to various causes and charities. So this will be a nice big drop in the bucket. And thank you guys.
Well, thank you. Thank you for being so generous. And it's nice to talk to an actual human again.
Human contact.
Yeah.
So why don't you guys share with us? I mean, people have looked at their podcatchers and they know the title of the episode, but why don't you tell us why we are here and what we're going to talk about?
Oh, boy. Jason and I have been fans of James Bond in a sort of geeky way. We kind of nerd out together about it. And when this came along, it seemed like a perfect opportunity to just kind of share our thoughts on one of the greatest films ever made.
So like Goldfinger, right? Or like
I would call it Goldfinger, but Goldfinger point, what do you call it? 2.0 or something like that. It's
sure.
It's definitely a remake. So we're going to talk about A View to a Kill.
Oh, of course, the Duran Duran one.
Have you seen it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
I have. I remember it well.
Yeah. Pete, apparently this was shot in San Francisco from what I hear.
Someone said, "Hey, Pete," and then 4 women walked by my window with various articles of clothing and guns. And then the Hayward Fault and the San Andreas Fault both immediately started shifting, and I wasn't sure what was going on.
Man.
Oh.
As if you don't have enough to contend with already this year.
Wow.
I have a lot of questions.
Yeah. They're packing heat? Like, are we talking like assault rifles or like?
I just met. Can I ask our guests just to kick this off? Are we allowed to dive right in?
Hell yeah.
Sure.
Okay. So all right. So, what is The View to a Kill?
It's a number one song by Duran Duran.
I love that song, by the way. We'll have a whole separate minute about that, where how unbelievably sexy that song is.
I am pretty sure that Christopher Walken and Grace Jones explained it perfectly from The Blimp.
Yeah, it's a scenic view of San Francisco. That's all you need to know.
Yeah.
That's The View to a Kill.
Looking straight into Pete's window.
Right,
exactly,
right.
Apparently.
And they were going to both flood Simi Valley and cause an earthquake.
No, they were going to cause a double earthquake.
Yeah. A double earthquake.
Yes.
The whole scheme was very confusing. You say this was sort of like a Goldfinger 2.0, and it sort of is, but Goldfinger, you got it. You understood what the scheme was. The guy was crazy. He had a pretty clear, kind of clever scheme, but oh well.
It's just two villains wanting to control a certain commodities market. That's pretty much the long and short of it.
Yeah, that's true. And they have a thing for 3D maps that come out of floors and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
age-old
Who
story.
doesn't?
I know. I'm not faulting them at all. I think it's been faulting. Yay! Well, let me ask before we dive in. Like, let's go around the table. What's everybody's history with Bond? Their experience with Bond? Like, is everybody coming to this like brand new, or this is like the 7th time you've seen it, or what? I mean, Mark, you brought this to us, you and Jason. So
I'm sorry. Well, I've been a lifelong Bond fan. I just turned 50, and if you looked at me, you wouldn't think so. And because I'm just dashingly handsome like Roger Moore. I've seen every film in the theater since Moonraker. That's one of my very first cinematic memories, and A View to a Kill is the first movie I think my parents dropped me off at the theater and I went to by myself. Oh wow! And I saw it a couple of times. I've just had a soft spot for it, and I've always had a soft spot for Bond. I've not met, but I've seen Pierce Brosnan a couple times in real life. I guess that's my closest connection to Bond.
Was he dreamy?
He was dreamy.
Was this Remington Steele, Pierce Brosnan?
The first time was Remington Steele, Pierce Brosnan. The second time was post Bond.
Oh wow!
Yeah, back when I lived in LA. And so yeah, no, that's it. I've read all the Ian Fleming novels. I'm an avid listener of the James Bond radio podcast and a couple others. And my family doesn't understand my obsession, but there you go.
Families rarely do.
Yeah. So that's me.
That's him. Yeah, I've been a lifelong Bond fan from, my father showing me all the VHSs when I was a young wee lad, seen every film in the theater since Goldfinger because I'm a little bit younger than Mark by about 15 years. So
do you mean GoldenEye? GoldenEye?
GoldenEye. I keep doing that. We did see Goldfinger, Mark and I, together last year at the Seattle Cinerama before it was shut down. So.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, but yeah, lifelong Bond fan. My father started me with Connery, convinced me that was the best Bond, which, he's great and all, but Roger Moore definitely has a place in my heart.
Yeah, it seems like most people in our general generation, like Moore is the one that they grew up on, and that's the real Bond for them. And I don't know, I mean, I'm about your guys' age, but yeah, and I grew up with Roger Moore, James Bond, but I don't know. I don't know if he's my Bond or not. I don't know.
Yeah,
he's great, and I love him, but
there's just something really comforting about him. I don't know. It wraps you up like a warm blanket when you throw on, a Roger Moore Bond film.
Yeah,
you can set your watch to Roger Moore. Definitely.
Yeah. He's the kind of charming, I don't know, not quite dashing, maybe. He's like the charming, almost friendly James Bond or something.
Yeah.
Like everything's kind of okay when he's around, and he's kind of having an all right time, even if he's fighting somebody or something.
And he might rub your shoulders and lean in a little too close, but, it's all good. You feel comfortable with him.
Yeah. Sure. I would agree. Jerry, what about you?
Well, I grew up with the Roger Moore James Bond, and as a kid, I was always thrilled when you'd see you go to see a movie and there'd be a James Bond trailer, coming out next summer or whatever it was, and you'd be like, oh my gosh, that looks amazing. So I'm not a huge James Bond fan, but I've seen almost all of the movies that have come out, except maybe a few in the maybe those first ones. But I think I've seen all of them. And I saw View to a Kill in the theater.
Oh.
And I don't think I was probably, it's 85. I was 13. And it's fascinating because this James Bond is so different than, Daniel Craig James Bond.
Oh, yeah.
Which I really, really respect and love too. I think I've seen all of those, and they're just, I don't know. I have a hard time with it because they're so different, and yet I grew up with Roger Moore, so he's James Bond. But watching this, you're like, oh, this is kind of like Powder Puff James Bond. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's like a big, the fight scenes, like he pulls back his arm and he gives the old fellow right across the chops.
Yeah,
You know,
Popeye
it's-
style.
You're not going to wake up in the hospital with this James Bond,
Right.
Well,
several fractured
well,
Yeah.
limbs and whatnot.
Yeah.
well,
And-
Just buy him a
this-
drink afterwards.
he might wake up in the hospital.
Yeah.
He's got a herniated disc. So this, and I haven't seen this since I saw it in 1985, and I was watching it. I'm like, oh, this is probably going to be kind of tough and a little silly, and parts of it are like banana splits, but I liked it a lot more than I thought I would. I mean, it's drenched in all the 80s goofitude,
Computers.
and kind of silly one-liners, after he, dispatches a guy or something,
Yeah.
But I really, Roger Moore, I don't know, he's easy on the eyes. There's something about it. Yeah.
Yeah.
He seems like a nice guy.
At
Yeah.
a spry 57 years old, he is very easy on my eyes, yes.
Right. Pete, what about you? What's your experience with James Bond?
So I grew up. I saw a couple of them as a kid, but I never watched a lot of James Bond movies. And I'm going to shock and perhaps even anger some people, but I didn't watch A View to a Kill for the first time until last night.
Whoa.
But I have to
Whoa.
say, I really enjoyed it. I thought that was
Oh.
Oh, there you
Yeah,
go.
good.
See?
Good.
yeah.
I was surprised to hear that because you are, I mean, it's not exactly the same thing, but you resist like kind of superhero movies and all the Marvel stuff and everything. And this could kind of be lumped in with that sort of stuff.
Mhm.
So I'm glad to
Well,
hear you had a nice time.
it's not exactly a film noir.
No. No. It's not scored by ministry
and I
or
never-
anything.
I got you there, Tom.
I never disliked James Bond. I just never, for some reason, I only saw a couple as a kid, and then I never ended up as an adult making up for that. Like, never went back and watched them.
Yeah.
But I love, I mainly know Sean Connery, but I have to say I really like Roger Moore. He reminds me kind of almost like a grandpa version of James Bond.
What makes you say that?
But at the same time, like a grandpa, like radical skateboarding, snowboarding
Oh, God.
grandpa.
See, that right there at the very beginning of the movie is a perfect microcosm of why this is of like this whole movie. Because I was writing I'm like taking notes. I'm like, okay, and a submarine that looks like an iceberg, and inside it's like just like a kind of makeout chamber with a bed that comes up. I buy all of that. I have no problem with any of that. That's all great, goofy James Bond. But to have him on like a makeshift snowboard. Even that's fine. But then California Girl starts playing by the Beach
Okay.
Boys. And I'm
Yeah.
like, what are we,
He doesn't.
Not even the
What are we
Beach
doing?
Boys.
not even the Beach
Not
Boys.
even the Beach Boys, because the Beach Boys were like, oh, hell no.
Yeah, I remember the first time I saw this film, I was probably like 10 or 11, and when that scene came up, an 11-year-old boy is just like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah. Even I know this is goofy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Kid.
It's amazing though,
that's-
because he kind of totters around a little bit in the movie. Like he moves a little bit like an older guy, but then he gets on that snowboard and he like grinds the rock and he does a method air and knocks a couple of guys down. He's like, it's amazing.
That was okay. Let's take a quick survey. Was that really jumping the shark for James Bond in the '80s stamp? You're like, did they ever do that again?
Well, he went to
Like, is
space
there another?
in 1979, so I don't know.
Even
That's a
that
good
was
point.
cooler than playing California Girls.
California Girls is really. I don't know. It's like you're just about to throw the whole movie out in the first 6 minutes,
Right.
and then you're like, it is 1985. There's like an
What's weird-
asterisk next to that.
Yeah. Well, what's weird is the rest of the movie. I mean, there are weird things that pop up, but nothing like rises to that or sinks to that level
Yeah.
of like super weird. Like, where'd this come from? Oh my god!
Wait,
Yeah,
Like,
wait.
you're kind of set up for that. Well,
It's-
I know
it's
there's
weird to
other
s-
stuff, but
Okay.
It's weird to start out your film with that on such a strong note like that.
yeah, a strong note of something. Yeah,
Yes.
like welcome back, Bond fans. This is what you're in for, or are you?
It's like they wanted a little minute of Police Academy in there somewhere.
right? Yeah, exactly.
Tom, what's your background with Bond?
Oh, well, thank you for asking. I sort of I'm like, the VHS crowd. Like I caught them when they were on TV or, we'd rent them with friends or whatever and stuff. So I kind of sort of half knew most of them for most of my life. And then, I'm not even sure I saw this in the theater. I think the first one I saw in the theater, goofily enough, was like License to Kill or something, but I was aware of all of them and I liked them and I always liked it. And now I've seen all of them definitely like several times. And my favorite is probably still On Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
George Lazenby.
Thank you.
You win.
Yeah.
You win.
That's a good movie. Pete, you'd like that movie. Go check that one out.
No, I will.
It's the one with the one guy who just did it once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it for being James Bond, it's almost like art house James Bond and some of like how they film it and whatnot.
Oh,
Compared
nice.
to the rest of the series, yes.
It's like a movie.
Yes. It is.
It's like a legit movie.
They had a director, a filmmaker with a vision, and he
Yes.
executed very well.
And Diana Rigg. You
Oof.
can't go wrong.
Yeah, the strange thing about View to a Kill is that you have California Girls, and you have this whole section sort of towards the end where he steals the fire truck and the
yeah.
cops are chasing him, and it's a little bit like whoop 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 whoop. And like Three Stooges esque, and they bring this cop in, and I'm like, what am I watching?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Is James Bond getting arrested?
Yeah, like the movie just completely takes you out of the movie and puts you in another movie.
Yeah.
For about 15 or 20 minutes. But
Those are a sublime 15 and 20 minutes though. Like the wino dropping his wine, when he kicks those two cowboy guys' hats off, like he kicks the hats off when he goes over the convertible. That's gold.
Exactly. Well, what's interesting is you do have that kind of goofitude, but you also have these amazing, like, oh God, that was brilliant. How did he get out of that? Like when the Rolls Royce goes into the lake and he sucks the air from the tire.
Right.
I'm like, that's one of the coolest things I've ever seen.
Yeah.
That's one of those things where, like, if I don't know if I'm stupid or not, but could that actually work? I don't know.
I don't know.
had
I was
no
thinking
idea.
that too.
I was thinking that too, because at first I was thinking, I'm assuming
It's air. It's compressed
it's
air.
air. Yeah. And you're
Yeah.
like, so is it?
Do you have to bite
mean,
it
I'm
and press that stem down with your tongue?
I know.
That's the
I was
weird
thinking that
part.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
James Bond making out with a tire. Nice.
Yeah.
Hey, Tom, I wanted to just before I forget. There's something that you mentioned on one of your Star Wars podcasts of recently, and that I have the same experience. Is that I believe it was you that mentioned that you had taped. You were talking about VHS tapes and watching these on VHS because we were of that age. And when my parents finally got a VCR, I was recording anything I could off the TV if my parents would give me tapes. And A View to a Kill was one of them. So that's why I'm extremely familiar with this film. It was one of the ones that I did. But also, you mentioned Star Wars as the CBS, what was it, Sunday night movie or something like that?
Yeah.
I had the same recording of that broadcast.
Oh, awesome.
Where the sand crawler or whatever the Jawas are in, it goes up over a hill and then it's a commercial break. And that's how I knew Star Wars for so many years.
I still sense that commercial break every time I see that scene of the movie.
And I really wish
it in my bones.
I really wish I had that tape still somewhere, somehow. Anyways.
Did you do the really cool thing where you're like, you know what? Instead of sticking a movie on a tape, I'll stick 3 movies on a tape.
Oh, yeah.
I'll record them all super slow. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they'll look like
6-hour tape.
absolute mud. But so what? I have War Games and Raising Arizona and Tootsie all on one tape, and I'm the king.
That's growing up in a lower middle class family is doing the super long play.
Right.
Yeah. And then you break off a little tab to make sure your mom doesn't take over.
Mom, Donahue. Why is there Donahue on my War Games tape?
Oh my God.
Jason, just so you know, there was this guy named Phil Donahue. And
Oh, wow. I know Phil Donahue.
okay.
He was married to that girl.
He
Now we
spoke
have to
out
figure
against
that
the Iraq War and got kicked off of like MSNBC or something like in 2003.
Oh, wow.
I remember that.
Oh.
No.
Yeah, he was one of the few critics of it. But
Huh.
there you go. That's my Donahue story. That's not my story. It's Donahue's story. So there you go.
Okay, so one thing I have to do with James Bond movies, and like Jerry, you say that repeatedly that you think you're dumb at movies, that it takes you a while to like get what's going on and stuff. But I think James Bond movies are notoriously like dense and convoluted in terms of what's actually going on and why things are happening and like what the master plot is. So I was trying to take really careful notes about like, so James at the very beginning, he finds like, who turns out to be 003 who's been killed. And he takes this computer chip off him. And then when he gets back to the UK, they're like, oh, this is identical to this other chip that's like, impervious to electromagnetic pulse, and this means that the Russians have this, but it's supposed to be only for us, and the contractor that was making it for us was bought by Zoran, so we got to go check out Zoran. So that's all I understand so far.
I think you got straight. That's perfect marks there. Yeah.
Okay.
And
I feel awesome.
we're gonna check out Zoran by checking out his racehorses.
So
yeah, to the track.
I've probably seen this movie 10 times, and now it makes sense to me that you explained it. So.
Thank you. I'm here for you.
It does seem like they added about 7 too many, twists or plot points or something like that. They didn't need, like, why does he, if he's going to flood Silicon Valley, why does he also have to have a double earthquake? I mean,
right. Or why does he have to be like drugging horses and stuff?
Yeah,
like,
the horse plot really goes nowhere.
Halfway through the movie, I'm like, wait a minute, what happened to the horses?
Yeah, I thought this was an equestrian film.
Yeah,
but see,
gonna
this
be okay?
isn't that steeplechase of death was one of the coolest ideas I've ever seen.
That was
That's what I love.
awesome.
Like, there's a vibe of James Bond, and especially this Roger Moore James Bond, where it's like, I was watching this movie, and I'm not going to go too deep into it, but it was late at night. I'm watching the movie. They have the opening scene where it's like, and then it goes into the Duran Duran thing, and it starts with the woman sort of unbuttoning, like she's unzipping, almost what could be like it almost looks like yeah.
It's a parka. It is a ski
It's a parka.
Yeah.
And it's
the whole
it's
credits
amazing.
are tied into skiing.
Yes, and it's like, and after a while, and then they go to the castle in France, and it's like, they're in this luxurious life, like the richest of rich, and it's horses and Rolls Royce and Tibbets and all this stuff like
Can't forget Tibbets.
Yeah.
There's something so I was just feeling myself like watching these. You kind of feel sexy. You're like, this is a life. I can't explain it. It's just a thing. And Grace Jones is awesome.
She's
and then
fantastic.
She terrifies me.
Yeah.
But and then there's the other woman he meets at the party. It was Stacy, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, like she's
Beastmaster's
she's
girlfriend.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like mysterious, but very interesting. And he just kind of bounces around. He's in the white tux, which, by the way, this is 1985. 1984 is Temple of Doom.
Yeah.
Talk about Indy at the beginning
Yeah.
and his famous James Bond white tux. And I wondered.
Yep.
Uh,
With Wuhan.
And Wuhan, too.
Yep.
Hey, do
right.
you guys remember another connection from this film?
Yeah,
the
there's a
flooded
whole
mine,
mine
or,
chase and a flood.
Elsa,
Yeah.
Well, but to a
Jenny-
later
there's
Indiana
Jenny
Jones.
Flex, there's-
Jenny
yeah.
Flex, Alison Doody.
Alison Doody. Dr. Elsa Schneider.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it checks like all the James Bond boxes. Like, whatever you think of the movie, it's got everything there.
There's something
it's awesome in that way.
oddly comforting about this film. I really don't know what it is, because I realize that it's pretty terrible. But I say that with but I say that with great admiration and respect and love. It's like opening a bag of potato chips, and like if you plop down in front of your TV and I just want to watch something, and there throw that in.
How much of that do you think is due to Roger Moore and the fact that he's been doing this for so long at this point, and maybe a little too long? And but
I'd say 95% Roger Moore, 5% Christopher Walken.
Right? Yeah. There you go.
Oh, but see, I answer one of our, like, we ask a question a lot. Like, could you watch Raiders today for the first time and still have that same kind of magical feeling that we had as kids? Like, was it being a kid seeing it for the first time that made it magical, or was it the
I
movie?
want to say yes, because I have a nephew who's like 10 years old, and a couple of years ago, so he'd been 8, we watched we sat down and watched all the Indiana Jones films. Actually, he spent the night over at my house. And we stayed up
cool.
all night and watched them all, and he was engrossed. He loved them.
Awesome.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
There you go.
That's good to hear.
But
There you go.
and I was thinking about that with this because this was the first time I saw it, but I had that same kind of comforting 80s feel. Like this felt like I felt like I had seen it in the 80s. Like I felt like I was watching it in the 80s. There was something about it that felt
You
very
have to take it in
comfortable
that
and
context.
nice. Yeah.
And there's, I mean, recently Jason and I, there's a few movies we've seen recently that hopefully it'll reopen again. But in Seattle, we have the Cinerama Theater, which is not unlike the Cinerama Dome in LA. And it's shuttered right now, but they had a 70 millimeter film festival, and we got to go see Last Crusade in 70 millimeter right when you guys were,
nice.
Oh,
doing
cool.
that. And
That's how you, Mark. That's how you found their podcast, because you just saw that and you were like,
Oh, that's
more
right,
Indiana Jones
that's
in my
right.
life.
that's right.
Oh,
That's right.
nice. Awesome.
And they had
Thanks,
it.
Indiana Jones.
They had also shown Raiders in an earlier screening, not in 70, but in digital. But there's just a lot of these old movies coming back. Just makes you kind of realize how computers and computer special effects have just completely destroyed a lot of the wonder and awe that there's.
Yeah.
When the guy's hanging on a rope on a blimp over the Golden Gate Bridge, that's
Yes.
pretty dang cool. And there's no special
Yeah.
effects.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it looked.
Yeah.
Like fighting on top of the bridge. That's like I'm worried right now. I know they're professionals. I know they're not
Yeah.
going to
Yeah.
get killed, but that's scary.
Yeah.
That looks scary.
You
Yeah.
also
Yeah, just
Yeah.
knowing something could go wrong and one of them could die, that just
Yeah.
makes it all the worthwhile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and kudos to Tom Cruise for, as another, 50s-ish guy doing movies, albeit looking a whole lot younger than Roger Moore. He's bringing a lot of that in-camera stuff back. It just makes, these movies it makes them a little bit more special, I think.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree.
Oh.
Talking about special, I had a question about the opening. Was this the time when those clothes came out where like they would change color based on your body heat?
Wow.
That could be.
Yeah.
That sounds like a totally mid '80s thing to be wearing.
That
to be
that
the cool
that
kid.
opening. That's all I was
Do you
thinking
mean
about.
Genera?
Oh, yeah,
Genera?
Oh, maybe.
I thought you were
Hypercolor.
Hypercolor. That's right.
Yeah, hypercolor.
Yeah,
I think,
yeah.
hypercolor.
Crazy.
I feel like everybody knew what those were, but they didn't take off.
Yeah.
No, they were around for like a year.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you'd see
and
one
like-
or two kids with them and be like, "Oh, that's cool." Next.
Yeah, well, I
Yeah.
think I want to say with those, if you washed them, they would permanently stay the second color or something like
Yeah.
that, or they get splotchy, look like tie dye after a while.
They would dissolve all the other clothes in the load, and they'd be like, "This is not worth it." Forget
There's
it.
also like half the kids in the class was just like big rings around the underarm.
Ugh.
Jeez.
Boy.
Well, speaking of the opening, and
Yeah.
we're talking about just grounding it in 1985. I haven't done the math on this, but is Duran Duran doing this song? Is this like?
This is after they hit it big, obviously.
Yeah.
With
Yeah.
Yeah,
Wolf.
but they were like at
Right.
the height of their powers, right?
They were.
kinda
They were like the
they
height of their
hadn't
powers.
quite peaked yet. They were.
No, this
No,
is
they had-
probably where they're peaking. It's. I would say.
You were watching it
Yeah.
happen right
I
now.
guess you're right.
This is the peak.
Yeah.
Yeah,
This
this
They'd
is-
already done like Union of the Snake
Yeah.
and Reflex and everything. They're on that. Okay, yeah,
Yeah, that
but
was
still,
80
I mean, they were. But
That was 84.
I guess
yeah.
yeah.
I
So
think.
like, I'm wondering if this though is like the example of like the biggest, most like primetime act they had gotten to do the main song in a James Bond movie.
It's
Like you'd had
fu-
Paul McCartney and stuff, but he was like post Beatles. You'd had like I don't know, Tom Jones.
Well, didn't they recently
I don't know.
have Adele? Like, didn't Adele do
Yeah, and they-
one? And
Sam Smith did the last one. He was
Yeah.
This
big.
was
Were they
the.
bigger than Duran Duran was in 1985?
No,
Not in my America. No.
maybe in England, but not here.
Well,
No
I'll
way.
say.
Yeah, that's a good point. That
I
could be
think
true, actually.
that this was. I think this was the only James Bond song that actually went number one.
You're right. I think you're right. Yeah.
I think you
Yeah.
might be right. Yeah.
So
There've been
take
some really good
that,
ones, but yeah.
everybody.
yeah, you punks.
Yeah. I
And
remember.
this movie does really well. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I remember just the first time seeing this in theater, and then as a 15-year-old boy watching that Zipper Unzip, I was just devastated. And
My goodness.
that was pretty much one of the first Bond songs that I felt like, oh, this is a hit. This is just like balls out. This is it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, coming off the heels of All Time High.
Yes.
Yeah.
It has.
Was For Your Eyes Only #1? Was that a #1 hit?
No.
Because that song was everywhere.
No, this had a top 10 or something.
Yeah.
This was the first, and according to Wikipedia, only Bond song to reach #1, which I'm surprised. I thought Skyfall might have got there, but I guess not.
What was the Carly Simon one? Nobody does it better.
Nobody does it better. Yeah, that's a good one.
That's a great one.
Oh.
But it must have charted, as we say in the biz.
Speaking of just the opening of this film, James Bond movies are famous for their pre-title sequences. I think this is a banger. I mean, I think it's just fantastic. I mean, even though Roger Moore was not present in any snow situations when they filmed it, but I just Willie Bogner did the skiing. It's just absolutely fantastic. I would say that the music, John Barry's score throughout it is just top notch,
he's amazing.
But I would say as a skier, my only gripe with it is the fact that there's so much skiing involved, yet these guys all seem to be at sea level among icebergs. So I have no idea how they got about 3,000 vertical feet in, just by tromping around on some icebergs.
I gotta go back up.
Yeah. Now, how do you catch air, Mark, on that snowboard?
Yeah, that's
he had to go straight uphill.
I have no idea, but I didn't.
That was weird.
I didn't have time to research, but I was wondering: is this film groundbreaking? As in, was snowboarding a thing in 1985? I don't know.
I feel like it had to be foreign enough to most people that they put a surfing song over it to try to make sense of it or something. Like
it's like surfing on the snow,
right?
Yeah,
yeah. Like they had to try to explain it to people, or it's okay. He's just surfing on the snow. All right, don't worry.
I would say it was just brand new, and it was like the coolest thing. It hadn't caught on. It was, if you're at the vanguard of the coolest thing, then you might know what snowboarding is.
So this film brought it to the masses.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
One question I have is I look, so they're skiing, and his ski outfit, he's
I know where you're going.
completely white. Like he's got white pants, white gloves, a white jacket, and I'm like that. So if he were lost, say there's an avalanche or something, you're never finding that guy. I didn't think was that a form of camouflage?
Wow.
Well, he does use it as camouflage in the movie.
That's what I was wondering, because he's trying to track down 003, and is that camouflage when you're on a mountain skiing?
Well, what's going to attract attention if there's a search party looking for him is that if you look really closely on his gloves, there is a little silver bee on, and I'm wondering, is that for Bond? Is he so vain that he's monogrammed his
Nobody take my gloves.
this
Those are mine.
Yep.
It actually kind of calls back to Moonraker. And Moonraker, he has a little mini camera that he takes pictures of stuff with, and on the lens, the little lens where it shoots out of, there's a little 007 across the camera with the lenses in one of the O's, and it's like, is that
a little trademark?
Yeah, be a little bit more discreet.
Yeah, secret agent.
Yeah. Hey, speaking of gadgets and stuff, I don't know how many times this happens in James Bond movies, but this is one of the ones where he's got a lot of gadgets in this movie, but there's no Q and we have Q too, but there's no Q scene of him explaining all this.
Oh,
you got
right.
glasses to polarize the thing. You got a thing that copies the thing.
Q is introduced with some little dog robot, and that's pretty much all you ever see of him.
Why was 1985 the year of throwing a stupid robot into
we got
the middle
Rocky
of the
right?
Rocky 4.
Oh,
yeah. There's 2 examples. That's all you need. Two makes a pattern.
That's the 80s for you. That's the 80s all wrapped up in one. The robots.
But the Roger Moore, this era James Bond, it's like they make rich being fun.
Yeah.
It's just it's really fun. got to be loaded.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's like Sean Connery might have had fun being cool, if fun is the right word, but then it seems like Roger Moore's Bond has fun being rich and being in fancy places, and
he's got a B monogram on his ski gloves.
Right, nobody else has that.
Yeah, he gets it. He's always
pure 80s.
He's right. You know, he's right. He just bought a $3 million horse.
Yeah.
Which you thought?
English taxpayer money.
Yeah. But speaking of gadgets. Is this the only time there's one really weird scene where he goes to does he open up, he sneaks into Stacy's house and he uses a sharper image
card.
That sharper image credit card thing.
What is that?
Is that even a gadget or is he just jimmying it with a credit card?
Was he just jimming it with that?
Just jimming with a credit card.
No,
is that
there's a deliberate click. There's a deliberate click to it. It beeps.
Yeah, and there are little lights on the outside of it too.
Well, sharper image.
You don't have one of those in your
Was
wallet?
that the?
I thought that was just a sharper image thing for their other credit cards.
Do they? They don't normally have product placement, do they?
Bond's
they have
huge
a
on
lot.
product placement.
Yeah.
You ever see those Heineken ads? I think starting with Pierce Brosnan, he's all over Heineken for some reason.
Yeah, and the watches, the Omega watches.
Oh yeah,
I noticed.
And the cars, obviously, as well.
Yeah, well, the cars, sure.
Well, today, even the underwater breathing out of the tire. If you notice, the tire has a big in white letters Michelin right near there. So they went to great depths to make that happen.
Michelin pure oxygen tires.
I'm kind of surprised though, because later in this movie when they're driving down Market Street in San Francisco in the fire truck, they go almost past the really iconic at the time Sharper Image store, which was a big glass circular building, but they don't show it in the movie. And I thought that was odd since they give a special thanks to Sharper Image at the end.
That's a missed opportunity.
Yeah, that could have been a Q scene right there. A Q pop-up laboratory at a Sharper Image.
Yeah, right. Or he just works there or something. It's like, that's where I get all my ideas. It's a back scratcher that's also a back massager.
Hey, Pete, you might have noticed this was filmed in San Francisco. I believe you might have noticed. So how does
I might have.
How does this feel as a San Francisco movie to you? I mean,
I was amazed I hadn't seen it. It's got so much great location footage, and it's got so much great Raiders footage. Like we've got the same the steps several times from City Hall and Raiders.
Fools.
And,
Bureaucratic fools.
Yeah. But no, there's all kinds of good stuff like there at the they were by the ballpark on the drawbridge and lots of places they don't normally go for location shots.
Yeah, I visited you there, Pete, was it 2 years ago? Last year? I don't know. But a while, and I was there for a long weekend, basically, or half a week or something. And even just then, just the shots of coming over the bridge. I'm like, oh, I've seen all that. I was down by the Alcatraz. Okay, I've seen, I'm down by the pier and everything. It's awesome. I get all this.
I find that the just the aerial footage of Golden Gate Bridge, anytime they show it's just absolutely spectacular. I don't know.
Yeah.
It just that's the iconic imagery from this film, and even on the poster. The poster of him and Tanya Roberts up there. And the
Klingon bird of prey coming down right under the bridge and just that's beautiful.
I actually have the Czech version of that poster hanging in my Rompus.
Oh, nice!
It's exactly the original poster, but just the titles in Czech, which kind of
beautiful. How do you know what it says? What?
Well, I just the internet told me. I think.
Good.
I just trust it.
And
you win again, internet.
And the literal translation is probably "From here I can see you and kill you."
And one thing I like is they filmed a couple of scenes in Japantown, which is they don't often do, and I like. The Bubbles Tickle My Tchaikovsky was in Japantown.
Really
cool. I love how they give the Russian agent a Corvette, which is probably pretty. That was probably the year that model came out, and yet Bond is driving a rather pedestrian rental Ford LTD.
Right,
that's pretty extravagant for a Soviet, isn't it? He's like, shouldn't
they come over here. They get a little freedom. They go for the Corvette. They go berserk. They dive headfirst into our capitalist cesspool. Yeah,
But is he just a bad driver? Because when he steals the cab in Paris,
oh my car!
He doesn't strike me as a great driver. Yeah.
Oh my car! Oh my car!
Zoodalores.
They must have. They must have souped up that Renault 5 because there's no way that car could have gone that fast.
You know,
Right.
that's
Especially when it's cut
a
in half.
classic 80s, minute right there where the car just gets
Yeah.
like somebody hits the car and the car,
Yeah.
they don't crash, the car gets cut in half.
Yeah, it keeps
Yeah.
going.
And he
It's
keeps
fine.
driving.
He drives
Yeah.
like another mile. That's the other thing where, I mean, it's not as bad as California Girls, but it's like, what are we doing?
Well-
I mean, nobody in the audience thinks that would work.
You know,
The little kids are going like, what?
that's where us parents have to explain front wheel drive to everybody.
Yeah.
I don't think that's as bad of a sin as the next two Bond films where Timothy Dalton, where in Living Daylights there's I can't remember if it might be Czech, where the little Fiat police car is alongside of him and he lasers it in half like above the wheels and the whole top of the car slides off. And then in License to Kill, the semi truck does a wheelie. So
Boy.
so I think
If everything cut just the right way, that might happen. You don't know.
Bond's always taking liberties with physics and how cars actually work.
It's true. We all have our own limits for when we go, what? Come on.
We have Mayday, which I'm trying to figure out. So she's American.
yes.
Sounds British,
But-
though.
Yeah. Well,
I
yeah.
didn't mention that she's American.
Yeah, right. But what's interesting is, but I mean, that's a Russian. Isn't May Day like a Russian holiday?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was like
Am I
May Day, like going down in a plane.
Yeah. I don't know if
Maybe
they're
it is-
related, though.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know if
they
that
are
Mayday
either.
is the same as like I think her name probably is more to, bring up like Mayday, help, something awful's happening.
Yeah.
Grace Jones is beating me up. By the way, I always have to I have to count to like 5 every time I say her name because wait, is she Grace Jones or Grace Slick? And then when I always realize that she's Grace Jones, I'm like, wait a minute, between the two of them, shouldn't she be named Grace Slick? Doesn't she seem like more of a Grace Slick than Grace Slick?
Very very smooth lady.
She is.
Yeah.
She's very
Yeah,
like,
I actually looked
cool.
up. I looked up her on Wikipedia, and she had has had a very interesting life. She is from Jamaica, and she said that I think her father he may have been a preacher, whatever it was. There was a lot of there was a lot of sort of Bible thumping, and she grew up in a very strict household where it was a lot of rules and sort of authoritarian, parent figure. And she said that influenced her, kind of, and I think it helped cut some of her rebellious style. But she
interesting.
did say that she also was very disciplined as well. Like she was both. Sort of this, had a dichotomy in her life. She was very disciplined and yet rebellious.
Mm-hmm.
But
What's she doing now?
Apparently, it says according to ever since 2007, she's just been in an open relationship.
All
Good
right.
for her. Wonderful.
Yeah.
It's brilliant casting.
When
it
she
is.
makes it
Yeah.
to the Eiffel Tower, and she ascends and she goes all the way up, and James Bond is chasing her, and she's shooting him, and she's getting away, and she makes her escape. Great scene, by the way, incredible.
That is really cool.
Yeah, it's kind of the Golden Gate Bridge of France.
Of Paris. Yeah.
Yeah. And she leaps off and she has a parachute and she just goes, flying by, and you're like, so did she plan that escape?
Well,
Or did she get up in the morning and put on a parachute?
Right.
Just
Jason
in
is-
case it's
Or did she also bring a fishing line or
With a
fishing pole
butterfly.
with a poison butterfly? No, did she look at like the billing of who the entertainment at that restaurant was?
Oh,
gonna
it's the
be?
butterfly lady
Yeah.
again. By the way, what is passing for entertainment in France these days? Or at least in 1985.
Papillon.
Did we all know that there's a huge ornate restaurant right in the middle of the Eiffel Tower? You
that
guys
thing
know that?
is the thing. Yeah, that is. I think they really shot it at that place.
Wait, that's real? That's not real. Is that real?
Yeah, when they zoom in just prior to the guy, and my wife is French, so I have a license to do that. But
All right. I hope I didn't just offend her because I joined it.
no, that's okay. She'll never listen to this anyways.
That's not a dig against you guys.
No,
No, I understand completely.
Actually, no. I think the only two Bond films she's ever seen are Goldfinger and License to Kill. This is odd. Anyway, where was I?
Okay.
Oh, no. They zoom in on the restaurant, and and according to the Wikipedia's, that is a place and a thing, and they filmed that there on location. The
Son
interior
of a gun.
Yeah. Yeah, butterflies and
I'm
all.
looking that up right now. Not that I didn't believe you, but well, okay. I thought that was another car cut in half California Girls or something.
What about the restaurant on the Golden Gate Bridge, though? Is that real?
Yeah. Just see one person at the very top of the bridge. Very lonely, very cold. Very exclusive.
Very exclusive. Only Roger Moore and Christopher Walken stuntmen are welcome.
Right. Hey, speaking of Christopher Walken, we all love Christopher Walken, right?
Yes.
Sure. Yeah.
But do you ever get the sense that if you didn't already know that he was a fantastic actor, that you would think that he was a horrible actor?
Oh my God! Thank
From
you.
watching this one?
God, I love
Yes.
you. I love you. Reached into my brain and you just
love you too,
rattled
Jared.
it around and you pulled it straight out. Because there's a few times in this movie where he's so Christopher Walken and he's just Christopher Walken and it's brilliant.
Mhm.
And
I'm happiest in the saddle.
In the South.
yeah, and you're like, it's like affected, but it's Christopher Walken.
Yeah.
But it's kind of affected, but it's Christopher Walken. And the only other person I think that you might think that would be maybe Jeff Goldblum,
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
where they're just doing them. And I had a moment where I watched a few scenes of his in this movie more than once to see if the line fell flat or something.
Yeah.
It almost, there might be moments when he looks like he forgot his line, but I think but it's still, and so he's supposed to be East German, and then gets escaped East Germany, snapped up by the Russians, and all this, and is a KGB agent. Yet he talks like, I want to say somewhere in New York is his accent.
Yeah.
Well, M says he speaks at least 5 languages, no accent. So
Yeah.
Depends on how you define accent. Yeah.
That's true.
He does say the word schedule.
Yes,
He does.
He does.
Just like Jean-Luc Picard.
Oh,
that's his giveaway. That's how
But
you
you
know
know,
he's not
and
actually American.
he says that in San Francisco, so that's bogus.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's
Right.
totally like how, if German officers, you ask them to say the word squirrel, and if they speak perfect English, that gives them away right away.
Well, Pete, I have a question for you because you're our resident compassionate person. So we have, Christopher Walken in this. If I'm correct, there's some sort of, he's like some Nazi. What's the word? Like, so he's like a test gone wrong, right? I mean, wasn't it? Yeah, he's some
psychotic. He's psychotic.
Yeah, he's psychotic.
Yeah, he's a psychotic Superman.
He's a psychotic super genius, but it's not really his fault. It's not his fault. He's born into the world with some sort of eugenics that were actually, boogenics, and now he's psychotic. And so is it okay to hate Christopher Walken in this? Are we supposed to feel bad for him? Or are we supposed to be
I'm
like,
having
none
second
of this
thoughts.
No, they never tug at your heartstrings
sweet.
with him or anything, or give him any sort
No,
of
they
real
don't.
sympathetic backstory. Unless you're really reading in between the lines on this one.
He's flooding all the workers that are loyal to him. And he pulls out an
I
Uzi.
shoot him.
And he's having a hell of a time. He's so happy doing it.
He kicks off the one guy.
The one guy climbs up the cliff and he kicks him off and then shoots him.
I envy him. I wish I was that happy in life.
Yeah.
But you know what? None of it's his
Never
fault.
bored.
It's all just bad genes.
Yeah.
There's probably a cutting room floor scene, of him, flashback as a child and being abused by the Nazis and all that.
Yeah.
In the
No, he was
That should be his like scene, like right before he falls off the bridge. It should be like, I never had a chance. I didn't. It has to be experimented on and born. And
It's interesting though because they've got the whole like they keep talking about how he's a certain way because of the way he was born, but then they talk about he breeds these horses that don't have a good bloodline, yet he makes them superhuman through technology. Or like super equine.
Again, it's something
Yeah.
that just kind of gets brought up and never really resolved or
Yeah.
mentioned again
Yeah.
after the halfway point.
Right.
But is that his way of saying, well, I can't change me. Maybe I can change these horses.
Well, so wait a minute.
maybe.
Why isn't he starting with the horse with an awesome bloodline, and then he
And making
adds
that
the
better.
yeah, and make
Yeah.
that better? Why is he starting with the horse with not like a mediocre bloodline?
His
Yeah,
horses
these
can
are-
go
I
to
mean,
11.
what's so
These are
Nazi
mixed
about
up,
that?
yeah, he's kind of mixing up his Nazi ideology here. A little
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah.
Although, if he does this, though, he can buy horses cheap and then sell them for like $3 million and then keep trading up.
I thought
That's
about
true,
that
but, like-
too, but I mean,
But don't
come on,
like the
you're
person who
cutting corners.
buys it. Do they have to like then get like the little injections and stuff that go in the horse?
That's what I was
and the
thinking. They're going to be
buttons that
so
they
mad.
press?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the
Well,
horse isn't going to work after they get
I
it.
mean,
He's not
this
gonna run any
dude's
races.
got a Zeppelin that flies over the Golden Gate. You're going to cut corners on horses?
He's got two Zeppelins. He's got two
He's got two,
blimps.
and he has like a
At least two.
silicon. Yeah.
Jerry, coming from experience, when you're that rich, you gotta, find use for your time that's entertaining.
Right.
And he's also very hands-on. He's the one showing up at City Hall and doing he's showing up everything where you could send a henchman to do it. He's
Yeah.
in Mayday, Drown Bond, and
He's in the boat.
He's
Yeah.
everywhere.
He's in the boat. He's in
Yeah.
the boat that picks up Mayday when she crashes off.
Yeah.
When she lands off
Yeah,
the-
he personally just goes and gets her. Yeah.
That's true.
There's also love involved. They seem to
Well,
have
wait,
a thing
now
going.
hold up. I have a question for our guests. Is Zoran dating Mayday?
I
think they're just boning.
I
right?
think it's just friends with benefits. Although she is rather put off.
They're just
when
having
he-
fun. They're going to see where it goes.
Yeah,
They don't wanna
she's
put any
his
labels on
sensei
it.
or something. She teaches him martial arts and
Well,
other
she
things.
does in the mine after he floods the mine. She says, "And I thought that creep loved me." So
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
No, that's true. But you know what's interesting? When they're doing they're practicing is it judo?
Sure.
I'm not
yeah,
sure.
a martial art.
It's a martial art, yes. When
Just
they're
one of
doing
them.
that, like he gets on top of her and he kisses her, and it's almost like he did it for the first time. And she's kind of not that down with it. Like there's a scene where he gets up and walks away, like to get a phone call or something, and they show
Yeah.
Mayday for a second, and she kind of looks away like, nah, I don't know if I want it all
I
that.
think she's
No.
disappointed. She's disappointed. They
Yeah,
got interrupted.
she was ready to
That's-
get down.
yeah.
She
That's
was all
how I
read it.
she was all revved to go.
Okay.
And I look at their relationship, not to get too topical, but they're kind of more like a Jeffrey Epstein, Ghislaine Maxwell type of.
Oh my god!
Kinda.
He does kind of like when
a
she
little bit, a little bit.
Well,
Yeah, because when Bond invites her in, and Christopher or
He invites
Zora's
himself.
just like, oh, okay, yeah.
so how does everybody feel about Tibbets? Speaking of the
Love
castle,
Old Tibbets.
Lovable. I love him so much.
Speaking
Yeah,
of
me too.
Diana Rigg, he was pals with her in the Avengers.
yeah.
Yeah,
The old
John
TV
Steed
show.
himself.
Yeah.
So did they have to kill Tibbets?
Oh,
He's like the Dirty Harry partner who
Oh,
basically
yeah.
has to get killed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every
and there are
time
a
I
few of
see
those
this-
in Bond movies. Yeah.
Every time I see this movie, I always kind of, maybe I'm just blocking it out just because I don't want him to die, but I always get a little surprised when he dies, and I always get a little sad. I honestly,
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
a couple of things to say about his death, actually. Bond says to him, hey, you have to get into town and alert, M or whoever. And here, as your cover story, just say you're going to go get the car wash.
He goes with the
so he
cover
leaves and he
story.
goes to get the car wash.
so that
And that's where he gets killed.
he does nothing. So
Right.
well,
But the thing I really like is when, like, she, he thinks that that Tibbets is pulling up when he's getting chased by all the horses and everything. And then he realizes it's Mayday, and Tibbets is dead in the backseat. And the first thing he does is go and check on Tibbets, and he's really upset that they killed him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He liked
really
him.
like
They had a
Yeah.
good camaraderie together. And also, I believe him and Roger Moore were actually really good friends in life, and so that's why
cool.
their on-screen chemistry was so good.
I like that.
I've noticed in I think a few of the Roger Moore films that he does the 2 fingers to the quarter whatever artery near your neck to check if somebody's alive or not. And I do believe he does that to Tibbets.
He does.
And
He does that to somebody else too. And it's really jive because like the person's wearing a scarf or something. And you're like, there's no way he felt his neck and chucked it. He does it to someone else in the movie. I'm like, yeah, he keeps doing that. And
Tibbets is definitely worth a pulse check, I'd say, at least.
Yeah.
When they're in the mine and they're going Grace Jones and Roger Moore after she's flipped and they're trying to get out of the mine and they see Jenny Flex floating in the water and she's like, Jenny, he's like, there's nothing you can do for her now. He didn't go over and feel her. He didn't put his 2 fingers up.
Yeah.
Can I ask about Jenny Flex? Can I put my 2 fingers up here? I don't. I don't understand Jenny Flex. She doesn't seem like she fits into this movie.
She doesn't. They don't really utilize her at all. And also, is the name supposed to be a pun on genuflect? I'm not sure.
I guess so.
That's the word came to mind to me, but I didn't. It didn't. I didn't make sense.
It's the kind of name that it sounds like it's supposed to mean something, and you don't get it, but you're like, oh, I get it.
Oh, that's kind of dirty, yeah, but not really.
Sure.
Yeah,
I'm giggling.
Or it should be like a gymnast, like killer or something.
I would say that she has the most 1980s haircut of this movie.
Oh my God, yeah.
Yeah.
Incredible.
There's like a brand of Bond girl who is not the main one and not the evil one, not the one he ends up with, but they're like kind of peppered throughout the movies where like, oh, here, I'll take your bags for you, or oh, here's your message, or oh, I'll fly you over to the they're just kind of there. They're part of the operation. And
there's usually in any Bond film, there's the main love interest or Bond girl, then there's usually the second or third tier, and she's definitely third tier, I'd say, where she has a little bit of dialogue, a little eye candy, and doesn't do much. She's just kind of there.
Somebody to throw some innuendo at.
Yeah.
Yes.
Apparently
he gets up early in the morning. He's an early riser, that James Bond.
I
don't know why he threw that in there.
I want to know, when he does, which made me laugh, and it's awesome. When he does the tape recording and he puts it in the hotel room where he's just shredding Tibbets. He's like, how am I supposed to wear these out? He's just going nuts on him. So when did they record that?
I like to think
it's like 8 hours long.
Yeah, we were discussing that today. Like him and Bond and Tibbets spent a good 8 to 12 hours in the booth.
Yeah,
just like riffing, just going off. See what
they threw out the script right away. They just
Did they have an audio engineer when they did that? Or
oh, of course.
Sure.
I'm sure Q wrote some good dialogue for them, go back and forth, and they threw out the script obviously, and just
Her Majesty's audio
played
booth.
with it.
Yeah.
Well, can you imagine like snoring into the microphone for 8 hours straight?
There was some sort of like in the 80s, wasn't there high speed dubbing or something? Like, do you think they did that? Like, do you think they since it's the 80s, they probably got like one of those like special effects tapes or something like that. They used to go with like a sneeze and a cough and a gunshot and a guy snoring. And they probably just high speed dub.
Were they able to put the tape on slow mode to make the recording longer and save money?
Yes.
Yeah. Gotta save on that tape.
Yep. And then you press the little Dolby noise reduction button and nobody knows what it does.
Right.
Well, I'll go way back. Does it have an XDR thing at the beginning? It goes
Wow.
Wow.
I forgot about those.
So my Duran 7 and the Ragged Tiger tape that I have had that at the head of it, and it had a big XDR on the spine of the cassette, and that signal was to just announce its awesomeness, apparently. But it would happen right before the music. But I can only imagine, listening to, something, can you imagine listening to, I don't know, say the Beatles or something, and you hear a right before it. I guess Spotify does that. So go figure.
That'd be funny if they played it like on the beginning of this tape, like if the guy in the control room's listening in, and it's like,
Did he?
Tibbets.
Are the tapes labeled? Does he have snoring and Tibbets banter?
Tuesday. Yeah. But I don't want to. I know we kind of talked about this already, but I really do feel like I'm like a good, I don't know, 45 minutes or an hour of this movie is in France with the horses and everything.
Yep.
And that really does not lead to anything, right?
No.
It's like really just Bond is there finding out about Zorin. Zorin's finding out about him. He thinks he kills him and stuff. And then they move on to the next part of the movie.
I can't remember what actually brings him to San Francisco.
I can't either.
Oh, Stacy, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
The oil dude.
The Czech.
I believe.
I forgot the Texas oil dude.
I have a
Yeah, in
San
Francisco. It's in Texas
San
oil
Francisco,
dude.
Texas.
They
oil
don't
dude.
talk like
Yeah.
this.
From Frisco, they used
I'm
to
from
say.
Frisco. Yeah.
You know what's too bad? I realized I like the part in France a lot better.
Really?
It
Yeah.
is really nice.
I
Yeah.
do.
Huh.
I think I don't know.
Why?
I like that's.
How can you say that when you can see a young Pete hopping off a cable car?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question. This just goes back to the France thing when Bond uses a stethoscope to open the safe. And I've noticed over the years he's had many ways of opening this a safe, from a giant copy machine. In Majesty's Secret Service, he has a kind of a giant copy machine that has to be lifted up by a construction crane.
It's like another safe that he uses to open the safe.
And then
basically,
and then he has a cigarette case in Moonraker that's an X-ray thing, and this now he just uses a plain old stethoscope. But it makes me wonder, like, from film to film, why doesn't he have all the gadgets from the previous films at his disposal? Like he's in Moonraker, he had the wrist dart thing that he killed Drax with. Wouldn't that come in handy, in this film?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Well, Mark, Mark, I am going to interrupt you there. And there is a deleted scene in this movie that's on the Blu-ray that in Paris, after the car chase, he gets arrested by the Sûreté, and when he's being checked out by M, they return his items to him, and one of them is the wristwatch from Russia with Love, with the Garrett that comes out of it, and he does make a From Russia with Love pun. So there you go.
Wow.
Wow.
That's
Thank
crazy.
you.
Yeah.
I stand corrected.
I watched that last night on the Blu-ray. I was like, oh my god. It was a very Pink Panther like scene. It was very comical.
Yeah.
Oh, we can't have the good thing they cut it. They can't have that in this movie.
Kind of like the boxing up the bad guys where they crate them up.
Oh, right, yeah. I didn't get that scene at all. Like he says something like, "Oh, there's a glut of microchips and he's
hoarding
them."
Yeah, there's a
Like,
surplus on microchips, and he's hoarding them. So.
Surplus. I'm like, what? I
I
learned about supply and demand in home ec in high school, and I don't think this makes sense.
Yeah.
Why
This
is
is
wait?
a
Why does
tracking
the
point.
microchip the point? Okay, hang on a minute. So
All right.
you're
Get your bearings
supposed to fly over Silicon Valley in your blimp, and then you unleash. Was it a nuclear explosion? And then all the
No,
Big
they-
explosion.
No,
yeah.
They never did that.
No.
yeah, all the microchips are supposed to go like everything with the
Yeah.
computer in it, like toasters and everything. They're all supposed to go kaput. But then he has the microchip that's impervious to a nuclear blast.
Yeah.
Wait, but was that even part of his plan?
No.
Jerry,
See, I
no,
thought-
that's,
Oh
Weird
my
thing,
god.
yeah.
that's a good
See,
point. Because that's even
I
brought up.
thought-
It's just a little detail that they like to sprinkle in. That
Oh,
has
you're
nothing to
kidding!
do with the
I
plot.
thought that was
Wait
the
a minute.
movie.
That's that's the perfect. That's like Lex Luthor, buying Otisburg and Lutherville and everything, and then going to California.
Yeah.
Like that should be the plan. Like,
Yes.
everything's ruined except for my microchips.
That's
Yeah.
what I thought he was doing.
Okay, so
amazing.
this has been brought up. I believe in the Siskel and Ebert review in 1985. One of them brings up the plan does not make a lot of sense because he wants to get he wants to have a surplus of the world's microchips, and he thinks by blowing up Silicon Valley or flooding it, that would
Right.
that's basically just destroying your market. Who's going to buy it from
Right.
you?
Right.
Yeah.
That's not where microchips are produced. That's killing your customer. It makes me psychotic. So there you go.
Yeah.
So first he's gonna unleash a nuclear bomb over Simi Valley, then flood it, then put a double earthquake.
Yeah.
No, the's no nuclear bomb. Is there?
No, there's not.
I don't think there is.
That's Octopussy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But Jerry, you bring up a good point because that's brought up in M's office when they're there with the Minister of Defense in Q, and I was shocked to see Bond explain what an electromagnetic pulse is to the Minister of Defense of the United Kingdom,
who has no idea what he's talking about.
Yeah.
He's like, but that sounds bad.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Did most toasters have microchips in 1985?
No.
that one got me.
I think in Rocky IV they had a toaster with a microchip.
Oh, I'm sure.
It was hysterical.
That's because
really
Rocky
charming.
gets all like his money goes to his head. He can't fight no more.
Yeah.
Buying everything. Rocky
Always
made.
yelling
Yeah,
at
you know what?
stands.
He made rich be like not fun.
No.
He got rich and he got worse.
Hair's all
Zorn-
coiffed.
Oh, and a
Zorn
cameo
would've
by
been a
Dolph
great-
Lundgren in this movie too.
Yeah.
Back to
That's what
Rocky
I.
IV.
I saw him
yeah.
in the end credits. I was like, wait a minute, where was Dolph Lundgren?
He was was dating Grace Jones at the time, and whoever was supposed
course
to
he
be in that part didn't show up for the day. So John Glenn just said, "Oh, hey, you try this."
You're large.
Yeah, you look.
Wait a
kinda
minute.
European.
So I just happened to notice that the person who I believe directed this movie's last name is Broccoli.
No, that's the
No, produced it. He's the Cubby Broccoli produced all
he's
these.
the patriarch.
That's ridiculous.
Of the broccoli. Yeah. Do you know of any other broccoli besides Barbara Broccoli?
Yeah.
No.
Mm-hmm.
That can't be the guy's real name.
Cubby Broccoli, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Sorry,
he's
Jerry.
Italian, so it's like probably more like Broccoli.
Yeah. You're offending everybody, Jerry. Stop it. Hey, speaking of embarrassing ourselves, can I admit something that I'd only realized as we were recording this? I did not recognize Wuhan in this movie.
Oh,
I did
what?
not know that
Really?
was him.
What?
I'm embarrassing everybody.
I know. Yeah.
I know.
How
I
did
work
you
here
not
on the show,
recognize
and
I
I
barely
just
paid
didn't.
attention
I knew he
to
was.
movies,
I knew I
that was
recognized
Wuhan.
him. I knew I had seen him before. I was like, he's probably some dirty hairy movie. I don't know.
Speaking of Chuck Lee of the CIA, or I guess the
Yeah.
CIA.
Mm-hmm.
So Bond goes and does the usual, say a line, and that identifies yourself, and if you have the correct
Yeah.
reply, then you know. And so, does he always stay at that fish stand? And what if somebody else came up asking for soft shell crabs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And by the way, how is that a code? How is asking for soft shell crab at a fish market a code?
Yeah, like if he was at some place like
It should be like, I would like 1.1170 pounds of soft shell crab.
Can you imagine
in a blue bag?
if he was at a sharper image and it's after soft shell crab, then that's a good
Yeah,
code.
right, exactly. I'm sorry, sir. You want the 310 to Fallsburg.
Imagine if Pete had wandered up to the fish market looking for some soft shell crab, and the guy takes him out back and starts talking about Max Zorin.
Yeah.
Listen,
Right.
coming out of Leningrad, there's a whole new type of nuclear weapon.
Pete's had to eliminate, he's had to take out a lot of people who've asked for soft shell crab. There's a lot of bodies floating in the bay there.
Yeah. Well, I like too that there's also the he just randomly calls over the fisherman. He's like, "Oh, come over and talk to this guy. Tell him about the oil rig."
Yeah, played by Kurt Vonnegut, apparently.
Wait, and I don't understand that at all. So he's intaking the seawater
Yes.
to flood.
Don't think
Silicon
too hard
Valley.
about it. Don't think too hard about it.
Okay, but
He's
then he
being bad.
does flood. Okay, so explain this to me. They do indeed flood the.
Jerry, that's how you cause double earthquakes.
Yeah.
So what happens to all the what? They get rid of like Lake Hayward and the lake above San Andreas.
San Andreas Lake.
San Andreas Lake.
It
San
just
Andreas
stays underground,
Reservoir.
I guess.
They get rid of
It just-
that.
yeah, it
all
goes
the
into the
entire
fault
lake.
and-
Yeah,
Does
it's
the
going
water
through.
lubricated, or what is it?
It
I guess
kills
that's the
all
idea.
those people, but it never starts an earthquake.
Well, no, it was the explosion was going to break
The lock.
There was like she said break the lock. Yeah.
But why didn't they just have the explosion and that's it?
Yeah,
Because-
I mean,
clearly none of us is a Nazi experimented psychopath. So
It's funny though
we're
because
not
he
understanding this.
explains things generally so well because he's on the blimp flying over from France and he's got every kingpin in the silicon industry,
the blimp from
but he's
France?
got like he'd be a great youth pastor or like a teacher because he's got like a jar of sand and he's like chips are made out of sand.
Oh,
Visual aids, please. Always.
Yeah.
No, I'm angry. I had to watch so much about water and flooding mines and oozing
Yeah.
all sorts of.
they even had like
oil
big,
workers.
diagrams and maps and everything.
Yeah, they had a
and
whole
lit up
light up
things and
diorama.
and
with-
timetables of
Yes.
when high tide is. It was all
Yeah.
laid out for you, Jerry, and I'm with you. I didn't understand it one bit.
Like one or the other. Either is fine. They're both Bond.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now that you mentioned this, the plot does not hold water.
And that's our show, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, let's take a quick poll here. Do James and Mayday do it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so hang on before we all start snapping.
All
What
right.
I want to know is so she says, "What's to say?" Something like that, right? And then James kind of digs it, but he digs it, and if you look, he actually puts his arms around her, sort of in a loving embrace, and he kind of looks up at the ceiling and winks at God. And
And she gets on top and then
Yes.
just pulverizes him.
well,
Yeah.
but so what's interesting is how does that go? Is she like? Am I
How
gonna
does sex work?
Well, no, like I have to take one for the
When a man
team.
and a woman are spying on each other,
Is she like,
and they love
because
each other very
she
much.
sees Zoran right before. By the way, it's hilarious. James is in her bed, and it's hysterical.
Yeah.
But like she sees Zoran right before, and he's like, "Oh, you got to do what you got to do." He called you out on it. You know what I mean? And so once they get into bed, like there isn't any pillow talk. She's not that type of person, which is
Right.
believable. But it's like,
Jerry,
why does she have to go through with it?
Why, Jerry? Would you, if you wandered into your bedroom and saw a shirtless 57-year-old Roger Moore in your bed? I mean,
Yeah.
There isn't much
If.
to say. You're right.
Nope.
So I guess they just want it.
That
They
is a good
want
point,
it.
though. Yeah, like, why does, like, James Bond knows that he's spying, and he knows that she knows that he's spying, and she knows that he's spying, so why doesn't she feel like, what the hell are you doing here? Why are you spying?
This is all the spy game. It's all spy
Yeah.
game.
I guess
Well,
so.
see, you know what's great? If they set it up, it's like a big game of bedroom chicken. It's kind of like neither one of them's gonna blink, and it's kind of like, well, here we are. And she's like, okay, I guess I have to do it. And James is like, yep, we all got to play our roles.
It's weird too, and like that. There's like there's usually multiple women who he's with in the movies, and he's gonna like the last scene will be him with one of them, and so it's like he's been with Mayday, so okay, it could be her. She turns before the end of the movie, she becomes a good guy basically, but then what about Tanya Roberts? He's gonna like you almost have to. The screenwriters must have been like, you know what? She sacrifices herself. She's such a good guy now that she blows up the thing, and that gives Bond the chance to make out with Tanya Roberts at the end. And
Right.
Q watches him as a perv with his little Rocky Four roll.
Q has
And it all
so much
comes together
video of
beautiful.
Bond just boning.
Yeah,
He's got
a-
tapes.
Yeah.
how come I never get to play bedroom chicken?
I know, really. You're not a spy.
Yeah, it was.
Well,
it's just
maybe
all.
because the other person maybe blinks.
It's all sex on a dare. It seems like you know.
It is.
really.
It looks, and so even
Will
the
they or
way
won't they?
like Bond sits there, and it's kind of a famous scene because she sort of gets on top, and you're like, damn, James Bond getting dominated, and that's the vibe of it, and you're like, wow, and that's why. I know I'm not supposed to think about it, but you're like, it's kind of fascinating. Like, are they both sort of wanting it? I mean, of course, James Bond does. You're like, sure, of course, because he
She
always
got
was.
horned up with Zoran, and he kind of put a stop to it. So she's
That's a good
ready
point.
to go.
That's a good point. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Do you think that the AARP magazine has articles about this? I had a couple of notes. One was, does James Bond always show his hand to his villain too soon? As in
That's amazing.
You know,
the answer. I thought about that because he says like anybody fly fishing.
Yeah.
You're like, aren't you a Spart? You're lying about your name, dude. You're St. John Smith or Smythe or Smile, whatever your name is.
St. John.
St.
John.
Does and if he is a secret agent, he's the most conspicuous secret agent of all time.
Yeah,
Absolutely. It says B on his freaking gloves.
Yeah.
Right. He's like, everywhere he goes, like people are offering him martinis, shaken not stirred. He's like, he's the worst, most out there spy ever. Like, you know, everybody knows who he is. They're all expecting him.
Mm-hmm.
Except for the bad guy usually, and then he finds out soon enough.
He also sort of doesn't use his like when Zoran thinks he's dead, James Bond doesn't really ever use that to his advantage, does he?
No, he just kind of parades around San Francisco without a worry.
Right. Meeting his contacts.
I have, when James Bond and Stacy are in the elevator inferno, and he gets out and he climbs on top of the elevator, and he tells her he's like, don't go nowhere, something like that, and she's screaming, James,
don't leave me.
Don't leave me. Why? Yeah, why doesn't he explain to her what he's going to do?
Yeah,
right. That was very awkward. Yeah.
Why does he have a ruse of he's working for some Financial Times after some people attacked her house and he just single-handedly took them down? Why is he still playing on that he's some financial journalist? I don't understand.
Yeah, why can't he march into that guy's office and be like, hello, I'm with British intelligence. And you need to help me out with this. I need information from you.
And he had the CIA. The CIA the Wuhan came clean.
Yeah.
It's all weird. Yeah, it's like they things have to be drawn out a little bit just to make the movie longer. It's a pretty long movie already.
to pad the running time.
Yeah. It's only 2 hours and 45 minutes so far.
I had a question. So when he's at her house and he makes breakfast and he makes quiche.
And she's wearing her evening quiche wear.
Yeah. But it seemed like every 80s sitcom had a thing that said real men don't eat quiche.
Oh yeah.
Right. That was a whole book and everything, wasn't it?
Yeah.
There was a whole 80s was this an answer to that?
I think it must have. I mean, James Bond doesn't just make a quiche without it being a, pun or something. And he says it's an omelet.
Yeah. Was quiche back then
like
a sophisticated type of food, or I'm not familiar.
It was.
I don't know what it was.
I don't know.
I mean, I don't know why it was considered quote unquote unmanly.
There was literally a book that was called "Real Men Don't Eat Quiche," and I don't know what else was in the book.
Did Dave Barry write that?
Easily, maybe, yeah. It was like one of those kinds of books. It was like Irma Bombeck or it was Dave Barry or something. And I don't know what the purpose of it was.
I had two thoughts about that scene. A, how the heck does she not know what quiche is? And B, did he make that crust from scratch?
Yeah, they were there for hours.
Yeah.
It's like a short crust pastry.
Well, what would be the point of having a shotgun with rock salt?
Oh yeah,
I appreciate that. I think if I ever had a shotgun in my house, which I don't, I would have it filled with rock salt. I don't want to.
I like that.
I don't want to take anyone's life. I just want to hurt them.
I like it too.
Yeah,
I like it as well. But is it? I guess
she's sensible.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. She's sensible
and sensitive.
How does the rock salt get projected out of the gun?
Yeah, does it come in capsules? Is it like shells full of salt?
Is that on the lower shelf at the gun shop?
Oh no, I think you can buy like shell. I mean, I don't. This is gun talk now. Shells, just with the gunpowder in it, and you can fill it up with whatever buck or size of buck you want.
Oh,
basil.
Yeah. You can fill up with anything really. Anything you find around the house.
Mashed potatoes or something. Yeah.
Mashed potatoes, sure.
Is the point of having the rock salt, okay, so here's an intruder, you pull out the weapon. For whatever reason, that doesn't scare him enough, and so he's calling your bluff, and so you shoot, like, to the right of him. And you go, kaboom! And then it makes the noise, and he goes, oh, she means business. Or is it that, I mean, because if you actually shoot the guy with rock salt, he's going to be like, oh my God, I'm dead.
Well, she's shoot the one guy out of the
And
window.
then he's going to be like, what is that? Is that... So that's him realizing that there's like a nice piquant taste to his wound.
Speaking of the intruders at Stacy's house that they're shooting at and fighting, with all the money that they had to make this movie, did they really have to have that guy wear that wig? Did anybody see?
For some reason, yes.
Yeah, the Halloween wig that one of the stuntmen was wearing during the fight scene.
Yeah, there are a few like early Star Trek level like stunt fight scenes where you're like, we all know that's not Roger Moore. Why are you even like dressing the guy up?
Real weird.
That wig looked like Mama's Family, you know.
That's amazing. You know what's weird too? I don't know. I forget if this is like a James Bond thing, but like, you know, he's already gone to bed with Mayday, and then he's here with Stacy. Is that her name?
Yes.
Stacy.
Stacy Sutton.
And they have a very, very like markedly chaste relationship. Like not even like he's just there to protect her. He makes her quiche. They talk and stuff.
Well, he's old enough to be her grandfather.
Well, that's never stopped him before. We all saw it.
I mean, they
For Your Eyes
they're
Only.
sitting there at the end in the shower.
I know at the end, but at the end, but like they spend like an entire night like markedly not together. Like she's just sleeping there in her skimpy little thing, and he's guarding her with a rock salt rifle and stuff, and they don't come together until the very end. And I don't know if that's like a Bond pattern that happens. There's
a number of Bond films that do end with, you know, the Bond and the girl finally, you know, knocking boots.
Yeah, For Your Eyes Only.
Well, here's so here's let
clean.
me lay it out here. Here's what's interesting about that. It's that entire part of the film and their relationship. It's either, you know, it's very domestic or potentially sort of paternalistic. You know what I mean? He's taking care of her. He's you know, he tucks her in. He you know, is guarding the house or whatever, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And what's interesting, she's a geologist, right? Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
Her name is Stacy. Her name's not Mayday, right? So when you look at the other people in the movie that, you know, he has carnal relations with, they're not anything. You know, one is, you know, I don't know, an evil villain, martial art expert who leaps off the Eiffel Tower named Mayday. The other is, you know, who drives a submarine makeout, you know, makeout machine. And then you know, you come across this one woman who has like an uncle, right? Or a grandfather.
Or a grandpa.
Yeah, she's a grandfather. And she's lost everything. She has no furniture in her house. She even breaks her last vase.
But she says it's an urn with ashes, but no ashes come out of it.
Right. She's like, oh, it's no big deal.
And so it's just interesting that he very specifically does not fornicate with the geologist.
Okay, but what if if this is either your first James Bond movie or this is not a James Bond movie or something, and everything happens exactly the way it does, without this being a James Bond movie, aren't you kind of horrified at the very end that this grandfatherly guy who's been taking care of this young woman and he made her quiche and he watched over her and everything, now he's in the shower with her?
Wait,
what's going on?
Just reaping the rewards. Spoils of war, James Bond.
Tom, haven't you ever showered with your uncle?
Sure, but you know, I didn't want to.
Oh my gosh!
Would have been better if they were at the Japanese baths.
Yes.
Oh yeah, there's her too.
Yeah, that's
She
a
seemed
weird
a little more
detour in the movie.
age-appropriate.
That's a weird detour, in the
and they have
movie,
like a history and stuff.
Yeah.
and they're
Well,
on the
apparently
same
that was
job
supposed to be a Barbara Bach cameo from A Spy Who Loved Me, kind of tying that.
Oh,
thread.
really?
but apparently she said no for some reason.
Oh, that's too bad.
Ringo wouldn't allow it. I don't know.
Aw, peace and love.
So he has sex with 4 women.
Wow.
All right,
Yeah,
that's
okay.
tonight's
Yes.
score. 4.
Yes.
That might be a
Submarine.
record.
I wonder if that's the record for James Bond. I'm curious in a movie.
Now,
No, I think
you gotta see on Her
Majesty's.
Majesty's Secret Service.
Okay.
Majesty's, he makes his way, across the continent, kind of.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Like Epcot Center up there in the.
yeah, it is. It's the World Pavilion, World Showcase in Blofeld's place. Yes.
so now is it really 4 because they're behind a shower curtain? They're talking about accidentally dropping the soap, and that's not the soap.
Yeah.
So
And
did
she's
it really
scandalized that
happen?
an old man's robot is in there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
could she
that might have
might have
spoiled
had
the
a
movie.
change of heart, and after the credits roll?
That,
We
that,
can
yeah,
only pray so.
that was the loofah. No, you know
Loofah, my stretch
what? You know what really is crazy? And Tom, you'll know exactly. We love each other, so you'll know exactly what I'm saying here.
Yes.
There's 2 or 3 lines in this movie that are so 80s, and they're sexual innuendo, and they tickle you right in the loofah. So crazy, and that's one of them. Oh, that's not the soap. And another one is she's
Right.
like something. I'm not. She's like something like, oh my God, what am I sitting on? And he's like, I'm trying not to think about it. And she's sitting in the back of the train.
Oh, the dynamite.
on the
The
dynamite.
dynamite,
Yeah.
and they very specifically show a picture, and it's very suggestive. It's like of her curvy behind on dynamite, and James is like, I'm trying not to think about it. And you're like, wait a minute, that can go a couple of ways.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, it's like,
But I will tell you that. Oh, go ahead.
well, it's just kind of like, you're like, well, I don't think it's the dynamite that he's trying not to think about right now. There's a
Yeah.
few lines like
But
that.
see, I don't think those hold a candle to the most '80s scene in the movie, which is when the ladder on the fire truck knocks the cap off the back of that pickup.
Yes.
There's like the naked couple in the back.
Oh
All right,
my
so that-
gosh.
That felt like it belonged in like a Richard Lester Superman or something, right?
Yeah.
Oh, very
Yeah.
much so.
Yeah.
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 That was
Along with the
British
drunk guy,
humor,
yeah.
right there.
or like MASH.
Yeah, exactly.
That by the way,
Yeah.
I'm excising that's a 15-yard penalty right there. That is not James Bond. I mean, it is
You're right, but it
80s.
is View to a Kill. It's like
Yeah.
it's
I enjoyed that.
By the
part.
time
Yeah,
you
I
get
thought
to
was all
that,
great.
yeah.
It's just
I gotta
good
say the
fun.
drunk guy right before
No,
that,
that's
like when
not
James
James
Bond is coming.
Bond.
The drunk
The
guy
wino
has
guy
been
that
a
throws his-
thing. He's been a thing in the Roger Moore films, and in
Yeah, check
Okay,
out
but-
Moonraker or
Spy-
Right?
there.
No, I know,
Spy
but
Levy
this
for us
one
only.
is super.
yeah.
But this one is super weird because they keep cutting to him, and you know it's going to end with like him looking at the ball like never again, and, like chucking it or something.
Totally.
But it doesn't. All he does is drop it, and then he's like,
That's
"Yes, man's
true.
great.
Yeah,
he got the
that's
woman out of
true.
the building."
He didn't have that life lesson turnaround.
No.
No.
He's
Well,
going to
see,
go buy some more.
Hold up. Here's the thing. I thought he was dropping it because, much like they say, what's to be said, what's to say, he dropped it because that's the moment he quit.
I don't know.
No,
it didn't look
I
that
know
way.
it's-
I
You
think
gotta
he's-
read into
that
that pretty
way.
hard.
He's
This is
driving-
visual
Yeah.
comedy. You can't be too cerebral. You know.
No, he's dried from now on.
no, it's when
And also, why
when he
they
slipped.
treat that scene like Superman saving Lois
Yes.
Lane in Superman the movie when it's
Yes.
a guy coming out of the building with a woman.
No,
What-
Tom,
and-
it-
and-
Tom,
Well,
it's
when you
like-
see
it's a
a
50-year-old
60-year-old man with a 20-year-old woman, you know, I dropped the drink too.
But you're like, she is conscious and she can walk. And it's a dangerous. I mean, it's very like
Jerry,
what would,
she's so pretty.
I know. What would be more dangerous, like walking slowly
Yeah.
down together, or
Or having your grandfather carry
you have it
Yeah.
carry
down
you,
down a wet ladder.
carry you?
with
Throw off
hoses
Grandpa's
spraying on
center
you.
of gravity as much as you can.
Yeah, that scene is really nuts.
It really is.
Yeah,
Yeah,
You get that
it's a-
cop
it's-
who somebody hates. I forget who hates the cop, but somebody hates the cop.
I
This
hate
sort
the
of like
cop.
I hate
knockoff
the cop.
Dennis Franz guy.
Yeah.
He's got that moment where he's like, "Hey, who are you?" He's like, "Well, I'm actually James Bond with the British Secret Service." He's like, "Well, I'm Dick Tracy." So is that like some weird? Is he responding to him being British Secret Service,
No,
or is he responding him to being James Bond from the James Bond movie?
It's being James Bond because everybody knows who James Bond is.
And nobody
That's
does it
really
better.
weird.
That's really weird.
No,
Is that what it is?
No, I think
thought it was
I
the
think
Secret
it's
Service.
it's just like, yeah, you're a spy. Well, I'm Dick Tracy, I think it is. So.
All right.
Yeah.
That
No,
makes
that
a ton
whole
more
and
sense, but
that one scene, like
nervous.
there's that one lone police car. Explain this, Pete. You live in the Bay Area. If you're going up a bridge and the bridge is being drawn and you race up in your car and you whatever happens, you get caught at the top and your car is dangling with the two front wheels over the edge and you're trying to get off. Why would you propel the car forward towards the chasm?
That's a good question.
The guy's trying to get off the bridge, but he doesn't just open the door and walk down.
Yeah, he can just open the door and like hold on to the bridge himself.
And then they take a whole minute to like have the chief of police upbraid the cop. You're gonna bet $100 out of your
great.
salary. What the hell is
And then
going
his car
on?
gets smashed.
Yeah. No, it's weird. Like, so when James Bond goes to America, if you look at like Diamonds Are Forever when he's in Las Vegas and Live and Let Die when he's in Louisiana, there's always an extended car chase or boat chase with local law enforcement. And he's just really making fools out of American police officers. And I'm like, okay about that.
Yeah.
Like, these are scenes that could easily be cut out of the movie, but they really make a point to really dog on American cops.
That one scene seemed straight out of the Blues Brothers.
It does.
The two police cars are stuck together and they hit that sign and they split apart.
Right.
Oh my
Right.
God, that's so
That's
weird.
crazy.
I also like the all the double takes when the Tchaikovsky bubble lady and her boss get in the car and she puts the tape in to play it.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And it's the wrong tape and they're just the double takes between them. Like what?
They had never seen Escape from New York. They didn't see that coming.
Oh, yeah. That was Escape from New York ending, totally. Okay, what's with the general, how he's lovingly patting her face? Is there something there between the two?
General Gogol?
Yeah. General Gogol gets what he goggles.
He's a go-go-gogol, you know,
He's
that's
a
a call.
Yeah. Exactly.
So what does
Go, go,
everybody
go.
think about Stacey Sutton? I feel she gets kind of a bad rap. I mean, and she seems to do the best with what she was given.
I want to be on Tanya Roberts' side because she was, like a staple of like a lot of 80s stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not shocked that people give her a hard time. She's very pretty, but I don't know if she's the strongest actress or I don't know if she lights up the screen too much. I don't know. I mean, I like her. I want to be on her side. I feel bad because she's not a better actress, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Not being a big Bond aficionado, I quite liked her. I thought she was great.
It is. I mean, she does have that kind of innocent, not totally innocent and sweet, but like we were saying, like she needs protecting. She needs some help. Grandpa Bond is going to help her out.
Yeah. Well, she's cut very differently than all the other women in the movie, and she doesn't. Well, I don't. They don't. She's
As far
she
as
doesn't
Bond
need to
girls
be
go,
in
she's
there.
kind of middle of the road, I think.
Yeah, she doesn't really need to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's inoffensive, I'd say. She's
Yeah.
fine.
She is inoffensive. Yeah.
Yeah.
She screeches a little too much when
Yeah,
she's in
she
the elevator
does.
shaft.
Well,
but,
she's
what are
scared.
you gonna do?
She says James so many times.
James!
Yeah.
She has no idea what's going on, and he won't tell her.
Yeah.
It's partly his fault. You're right.
Yeah, it's true.
Has there been a Bond movie in Seattle?
Oh, no.
Oh, that.
wow.
Well, unless you count, John Wayne's like McHugh.
All right.
No, unfortunately.
So is Max Zorin the first Bond villain to laugh at the moment of his death when he slips
I think
off?
maybe.
Wow,
That's a good death.
that's a
It
great
is.
death.
Although I was wondering that, like, first of all, they get they get a lot of points for following him all the way down. I'm a huge fan of somebody falling, and you just follow them all the way down to the ground, or the water, is the case may be.
Yeah,
It's
that's
always
nice.
a good fun. You want them to, and they don't always do it.
Yeah.
You want to
So
see
they do.
impact. You always want to see that
Yeah.
impact.
Yeah, it's always a letdown when they don't do it. And by the way, On Her Majesty's Secret Service has a fantastic one of those during one of the ski chases.
Oh yeah, a little
yeah.
bouncy dummy. Off the
Yeah, but I was having not a hard time, but I was wondering why. You've got the henchman and the German doctor guy in the Zeppelin, and you've got Zoran, and they're duking it out. He and Bond, and he has an excellent fall. But then you're like, oh wait, we still got these two other bad guys, and they're not the main bad guys.
They
Yeah.
don't have a boss anymore.
Right? Yeah, like I don't know.
They're unemployed.
I get that you want somebody to fall off the bridge in a spectacular way, and you want that Zeppelin to explode in a spectacular way. But I don't know why, like the doctor could have fallen. He could have been the one to fall.
Yeah.
Like either Bond punches him. Like I don't see him fighting the doctor, like the 90-year-old doctor on the
Why
bridge.
was the
but,
doctor
know.
so angry though? Like, why was the doctor throwing dynamite at him?
What was his plan exactly? Like a
I don't
cartoonish
know.
bundle of dynamite. That
And why do they have a cartoonish bundle of dynamite in a cabinet on a
A
Zeppelin?
cartoon. Well, and also, like, he lights it, and the fuse is maybe, let's say, 20 or 30 seconds. And you're like, okay, so he's going to throw it, but then he's
Yeah.
going to have to throw it's going to be like a horseshoes thing, where he has
hold
to
still.
sort of throw the dynamite and have it land near James Bond? Or is he
James
just going to
Bond,
have
come
it
here, I want to
blow
tell you
up?
something.
Does he just have to have
It's
it
good.
land somewhere on the Golden Gate Bridge?
I don't
But
know.
he would have to be a really good shot or a good thrower because it's got to land on this tiny little space and not fall slide off onto.
you know
the
what?
deck
That
or
should
the
have been
water.
Max Zorin throwing dynamite. That's insane. That's an insane thing to do with no real
Yeah.
plan. That should have been him.
Yes.
It's like
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, he
Yeah.
probably has really good aim because he can see very well out of that monocle.
Yeah, that's what it's got.
Well,
They
so-
cut out the scene where it's actually like a laser-sighted thingamajig, and yeah.
So did they just do them backwards? Should the Zeppelin have blown up first, and then Zoran falls?
No, because an explosion. That's like the cherry on top.
That's
You
true.
want to end with an
Right.
explosion.
But the doctor, like I guess
They
who's the main
Bond
bad
should have
guy?
fought the doctor on the bridge, and Zoran should have blown up in the blimp.
Yeah.
Max! Max!
Wow. Well, it's weird at the very end. You get the idea that the doctor was the main mothership bad guy.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
he's like
created Max.
Yeah,
because,
so that's what
I
I'm
always
saying.
thought
Like
he
he's
was
gonna.
like his father.
It's
in-
like he's
you
gonna
know,
create
in a
another
way, he
Max
is.
since this one's dead.
Yeah.
Well,
Oh,
Can't do that if you blow
in
yourself
the time
up.
that he has.
so, hey, Pete, did so when it's all over, everybody's blown up and all that. James pulls Stacy up, but there's an axe that's lying on the span of the Golden Gate Bridge. Were you worried at all that would fall and hit a car? Because I am.
I was absolutely worried about that. I was, yeah.
Or simply that James
And
Bond would cut himself on it. Those things are dangerous.
Yeah. Well, that, and I was worried that the pieces from the blimp were going to fall onto the deck and smash cars.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all dangerous.
Yeah, that's a lot of. No matter what, there's a lot of collateral damage with a blimp blowing up above the Golden Gate Bridge, isn't there?
Well,
Yeah.
when Max throws the dynamite out, the blimp is still attached to the Golden Gate.
No, he cuts it free. He cuts it free with
Yeah.
the axe.
Oh, right.
Yeah, but it's a fiery records going down on a bunch of cars, no matter how you
Yeah.
look at it.
Yeah. It's just how much. It's a matter of degrees. You know.
Our
Keep it
Bond
to a
movies
minimum.
always this bloodless. I kind of enjoyed that there was no blood.
Yeah.
This is actually a little bloodier than
Yeah,
some.
this had a
that
lot of
guy in the
mayhem.
office gets shot.
Yeah.
And
Well,
like some
wait,
of the
that
guys
guy,
in
the
thing
one
get shot.
agent goes down into the tunnel saltwater.
Oh, right.
They don't-
yeah, the
Eller.
Russian
They don't
guy,
show
yeah.
too much. Like you don't see a lot of
No,
blood. Or
that's
there's not a lot of
great.
gore. There's not a.
The grossest one is
Majesty's?
License to Kill.
Oh.
Oh yeah.
When they blow that guy up, they blow up Anthony Zerbri or whatever. In that,
Oh, they
in
do!
that
In the
pressure
decompression
tank.
chamber.
Oh.
It's like,
yeah.
what movie am I watching? This is dumb.
That caused
Yeah.
the first PG-13 Bond film. That scene.
Really?
Oh, you're
Oh.
right. Yeah. But yeah, no, mostly they're kind of like bang bang and the people fall over and stuff.
Though,
Kind of
as
like
I
Raiders
said,
or something.
in Majesties, it's pretty gnarly when that guy goes into the snow plow or whatever that thing is. The snow
that's
chipper.
right.
It's like a snow chipper.
He had
That's what it
guts.
is.
Yeah.
And
Snow
you
chipper
just
for
see a lot of
chipping
bloody viscera just coming with mixed
Yeah.
with snow
Oh.
coming out.
Oh,
Yeah.
isn't there one with a buzzsaw on a table?
There's a laser in a table.
Yeah.
But it never goes anywhere.
Yeah.
And
He
then
gets
is it
out of it.
Octopussy where they have those dope things that they throw? They're kind of like these. They're kind of like the
Skill saws with
yeah,
Oh, like those yo-yo
Yo-yos,
saws.
yes.
or
yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
That's how
Yeah.
VJ gets it. Sadly,
Aw.
VJ was the best.
A yo-yo
That's sad.
saw.
So they lose James Bond. Like again, like most of these movies end, we're like, we can't find Bond. Oh no! But like, how did they? Like they saw a zeppelin explode on top of the bridge and everything, and they. I mean, I'm trying to picture the scenario in which
I mean, that's a
no one's
pretty-
waiting for Bond at the end at the bottom of the bridge
So,
or anything.
Did he
Does-
walk down?
I guess so.
So, Ken,
That
why
sucks.
didn't Q just go up and knock on the door and see if he was in the house?
Q is only being a pervert in this scene. There's no other way to read this scene than Q being super weird and gross.
And is Q really surprised what he finds? I mean, that's
No, he knows exactly what he's going to find. He takes his little creepy robot and he sends it exactly where he knows. He sends it through the door or whatever labeled pussy.
Cat door.
Yeah.
He goes and he finds like where they're going to be. He knows exactly what he's doing. It's so weird. Because usually it's like, oh, Your Majesty, I think I have him on the screen. You can thank him personally for saving the Earth or whatever.
Yeah.
And oh no, he's actually naked with a girl. Oh no, this is embarrassing.
there was one where
It's like-
they had Margaret Thatcher call him.
Exactly, yeah. Right.
Well, how many James Bond movies end with "Oh, James"?
Oh, at least 20.
Yeah.
Yeah,
None of the
Or some
Daniel Craig
variation of
ones,
that.
obviously, but I think anyone before
Yeah.
that.
yeah. But it's fun. It's kind of like an Ah Venice.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's true.
speaking of Last Crusade, Jason and I, when we saw it at the Cinerama, we noted there is a scene, I believe, in the castle that, Jason, correct me if I'm wrong, 4 Bond veterans in one frame?
Oh man.
Yeah,
Let's see. Connery,
You have Connery,
Glover.
you have
yes.
Billy Glover.
Yeah, wait.
Wow.
Oh.
the
Alison Doody.
Alison Doody, and then the I can't remember his name, the blonde, blue-eyed Nazi guy, who is
Yeah.
he is in a subsequent. He's in Tomorrow Never Dies in the submarine.
That's right.
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
So that's 4, and and Connery, 4, 4 in,
That's awesome.
in one scene, 4 veteran Bond actors.
Nice.
There you go. Factoid for
Yeah.
today.
You just need to throw Harrison Ford in a Bond film, and then there you go.
Yeah.
You know he wants to.
Oh yeah, jeez. Can you guys tell me why did Sean Connery come back in 1983 for Never Say Never Again? What was that
Money.
whole thing about?
Yeah,
I think,
money.
like a boat full of cash.
And he-
I think
Well,
it was.
but-
Yeah.
He
It was a
also-
little FU to the producers of the Eon films,
Yeah.
too, is my understanding.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he and the Broccoli's or Cubby Broccoli did not get along apparently, and also the Broccoli's probably didn't profit share enough with him. So
Yeah, I don't think he got too rich off of these.
yeah, and he and
I just heard a story that Star Wars Minute is doing on their Patreon. They're doing a lot of James Bond stuff these days, and I think they said that around the time of Octopus, because Octopussy and Never Say Never Again came out of
Same year,
the same
yeah.
year.
Yep.
yeah.
And I think they were trying to like woo back Roger Moore. He was kind of done. He didn't want to do it anymore, but they're trying to woo him back. And like the other guys are trying to woo Sean Connery with the other production. And I think the two of them called each other, like Roger Moore and Sean
Yeah,
Connery.
they
Like,
were
which one do you
friends.
want
They
to
were
do? Do you want to do
friends.
either of these? Yeah. And they're like, I'll do the Connery's like, I'll do the not Cubby Broccoli one. I'll do Never Say Never Again. It's like, all right, I'll do Octopussy. Okay, cool. And they settled. They just kind of did it that way.
I would love to see a split screen of that phone call.
Oh God, yeah, that'd be awesome.
Roger Moore in a velvet smoking robe or something.
Yeah.
Also, that era, Connery didn't have a super successful post Bond career until like The Untouchables for like
That's true.
1987. So I think
Yeah.
he was a little desperate at the moment.
Looking for a hit. They weren't
Yeah,
gonna make
looking for a hit.
no Zardoz
Yeah.
2.
Yeah, no Zardoz too.
Oh well.
Zardoz returns.
But they came out the same year. Octopussy came out first, and then Never Say Never. But Octopussy did better at the box office, and Never Say Never. Kevin McClory, who had written, or he had created Thunderball with Ian Fleming, and that's how he had maintained the rights to that storyline, but only that storyline. So he could make Never Say Never again as many times as he wanted to make it, but it had to be that movie. So they didn't really have anywhere to go after they made that movie again.
Right.
And Kevin McClory definitely. I kept on reading articles. He threatened another Thunderball remake a number of times throughout like the 90s. So
yeah, he just died recently, didn't he?
Yeah, not that long ago. A few years ago.
Or
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So we don't have to worry about that anymore.
No more Thunderballs.
I guess. Right. Well, guys, it feels like we're at the end of this movie.
Yeah.
I think, did we just cover A View to a Kill, stem to stern?
Holy cow.
Duran Duran singing again.
Sort of, yes.
Yeah.
I want to say my favorite part of this whole thing is that Pete liked the movie. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. I wasn't sure.
I'm kind of excited
after
that
the first 5 minutes.
that you guys seem to enjoy it, because it's just such, it's, I don't know, it's like pizza, it's just like, just eat it up. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
See, that's what I wasn't sure about going into it. I was like, okay, we're going to watch the worst James Bond. Like, I don't know what the exact, like, what's the view of this? The view of this View to a Kill movie? Is it?
I think the consensus is it's the weakest of the Roger Moore, but it depends on mood, really. Like, if you want to really look at bad, I think Moonraker is a lot worse myself, but that's just me.
Like Moonraker.
No, it's goofy. It's goofy stuff.
No, Jason.
I mean,
Jason,
I know everyone sort of says this is.
I think Quantum of Solace is the worst one myself.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
I just I know that everyone thinks, oh yeah, it's like he did one too many. Roger Moore did one too many. This was like definitely should have been his last one before this or something.
Yeah, but he was still game
like
for
it seems like a lot of people think of this as like a guilty pleasure, like they stand by it even though they know it's got flaws or something. Mm-hmm. It's got like a fierce, strong, loyal following. It seems like, but I like it. I just liked it like as a movie. It was good.
Yeah,
it's quite rare that we all three agree on something too. So nice job picking this one.
I know, yeah.
We only
good work, Mark. Good work.
Yeah, we only did this just to bring the three of you together.
Yes.
We were just going to break up. Now you brought us back together.
When you guys stopped doing Crystal Skull, we were getting a little bit worried about you guys. So
Yes. There's so much of Crystal Skull I want you guys to cover. Please bring it back.
I'm looking forward to returning to that. I really am.
And Mark and I like there when the shutdown first began. Mark and I, on different sides of the city, we watched all the Indiana Jones films on Netflix Party and Crystal Skull.
Oh, very cool.
Yes, nice. We had a good time with that one.
Do you like Crystal Skull? You dig it?
No,
Yeah.
no. It has a couple of all right moments, but no.
Yeah.
That's.
I know how you feel.
Well, if you took a break from it, does that mean you have to rewatch it yet again?
No.
Nah.
I'm checking our contract.
Yeah.
No. I think we're good. We're not even going to watch the minutes from going forward. We're just going to do it from memory. Wasn't like Mac just trade sides again in this one? I forget. I don't know.
You have to make it at least as long as my dogs walk. That's
Oh, okay, cool. We can do that. That shouldn't be too hard. Well, guys, thank you so much. This has been awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you for supporting us at such a crazy, beautiful level on Patreon. Thank you for bringing us an excellent movie that we could all enjoy, taking us back to 1985. And thank you for being, what I can tell through all this, pretty cool. Thank you for being cool.
Oh,
you seem cool.
Oh, thank you.
Great guy.
You guys are pretty cool too.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
We're all cool. We're cool. We're all cool.
I've always wanted to be in the cool club.
Crying does not get you in the cool club. Easy. Have to put the cool jacket on you, and now we're backing away. But everybody, thank you so much listening out there. These guys came to us on Patreon. You should check us out on Patreon over there too. Patreon.com/Indiana Jones Minute. And there are a number of ways that you can support us over there and find the one that's right for you. And you're going to get something out of it that you're going to enjoy.
Hey, you can force us to watch a movie.
Yeah, force us to watch a movie. Even if we hate
charity,
it.
We took great pleasure in it.
Yeah. Some jokers want to talk about Rush with us, but
No.
we'll do whatever.
Does that mean I have to remain at this level another month?
Oh man. We're not saying no.
Jason will not be joining us for that one.
No, all right.
Pass.
Fair enough.
Can I join you, Jason?
Hey, I should say, if you want more 007 talk, our old friends Mitch and John from Alien Minute are doing the 007 by 7 podcast, which is excellent. They just started with Dr. No. They're doing it 7 minutes at a time. It's a great show. I was a guest on there recently, and it's a lot of fun. As you mentioned, Mark, there are other James Bond shows out there. They're all good.
Yeah, James Bond Radio is a good one.
Yeah, I was a James Bonding guy myself.
Oh yeah, I'm James Bonding guy. Yeah, James Bonding all the way.
Yeah.
But yeah. Jason and I had entertained the idea before he had his son, and when we thought this could be a thing of doing our own James Bond podcast 7 minutes at a time, and my thought for the title was going to be 007 Minutes and Counting. But when I heard that, your friends there, they beat us to the punch. So there you go.
Oh
well.
Well, Coke has Pepsi, Mark. So there you go.
Never say never. Well, thank you, everybody. And join us back here. As we're putting out many of our Patreon shows, anything goes for free during these crazy times. So while that lasts, keep enjoying that. And we promise, coming back with Crystal Skull. You just have to be patient. Find out when. But thank you all. Have a beautiful night. And watch out for robots watching you in the shower.
Wait. Tommy, say more power.
More power. More power.
Max!